Today is Friday, February 12, and you know what that means. It's time for your weekly edition of Travel Grunt. I'm your host, Zac Wilson, and I need a vacation. You know, I just want to start off today's show by saying a big thank you to everybody who's been watching Travel Grunt and sharing it on social media. This has just been a lot of fun for me these first couple of weeks, and I hope that we get to continue together for a long time. Let's see what's up on the pad of power. This week in travel news, boy oh boy, domestic travel is all the buzz right now. Many U.S. travelers are considering domestic vacations as opposed to international destinations at this time. Well, in Las Vegas, they are very excited for a new resort complex called Resorts World that's going to be opening up sometime in probably late summer of 2021, but they're already promoting it. Now, there's way too much to memorize, so I'm going to read off of a short list of details for you. Here we go. It's a $4.3 billion next-gen hotel fusing three of the Hilton brands together, the Hilton, the LXR, and the Conrad Hotel and Resorts brands. It has a 117,000 square foot casino. That's a lot of gaming. New dining concepts that are entirely new to the Las Vegas Strip. So if you've been to Vegas before and you love good dining, you're wanting to go to Resorts World to check out this new cuisine. Of course, they're going to have shopping. They're promoting it as curated luxury retail. You know what that means? Cha-ching! You better win a lot of money to go shopping there. They have a 350,000 square foot meeting banquet space, so we're going to see a lot of conventions taking place at the new Resorts World in Las Vegas. Wow, they have a 222,000 square foot pool complex. Definitely a great place to lay out, get a tan, and have a good time. Naturally, there's a spa, get a massage, and there's a 5,000 person theater for A-list residencies. I'm excited to see which celebrities are going to be taking up residency at Resorts World coming in summer of 2021. Also in domestic travel news, Walt Disney World Florida continues its phased reopening. Now, they have been receiving guests since late summer, early fall of 2020. It started off as a very low occupancy and capacity standard and with very few hotels and restaurants open, but they were getting started. They've now reached a point where 19 of their 30 hotels are receiving guests. The theme parks are accepting about a 40% of their natural capacity, which guests are loving because it means smaller crowds, shorter lines, and a very unique experience. Of course, to experience this, you will need to get a park pass reservation. For more information on that, I do encourage you to contact your professional travel advisor, especially one that specializes in Disney destinations. The dining plan has not yet returned, but many of their restaurants are open and servicing guests. Okay, what's really great about Walt Disney World is they are preparing to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Magic Kingdom Park, which opened October 1st in 1971. So October 1st, 2021 will be the big celebration, and that celebration will continue on throughout the year of 2022. You definitely want to get out there and check it out. The new Tron roller coaster in Tomorrowland. Over in Epcot, they're opening up a ride from the Ratatouille movie called Remy's. It's actually from, I believe, Disneyland Paris or Euro Disney, taking one of their favorite attractions and bringing over to the United States, and so much more. So definitely check that out as an option. Just remember, you will be required to wear a face mask, and upon entry to the parks, you will have to take a temperature test. Anyone with a fever of 100.4 degrees or higher will be denied entry, so please, please, do not travel if you're sick. Also in domestic travel news, let's talk about Hawaii. Hawaii is an incredible destination. It gives an exotic flair and an international feel, but it is a U.S. state, so it abides by domestic travel laws. However, the state of Hawaii has its own entry restrictions and requirements. So all the islands that you can visit, except for Kauai, have the same standard where before you board your plane to go over to the state of Hawaii, you do need to provide a test, a negative test result from a state of Hawaii authorized testing facility proving that you do not have COVID-19, or at least a negative test result, no more than 72 hours before you board the plane. Now, Kauai had exempted or recused themselves from that and basically said, it doesn't matter if you're a resident returning home, if you're a guest, a tourist, or whatever, you're going to experience a 10-day quarantine, which effectively stopped leisure and vacation travel to the island of Kauai. Well, they have made two exemptions or exceptions, and the governor of Hawaii has accepted them. One is for inter-island travel. Let's say you want to do 2 islands in Hawaii, so maybe you go to Maui first. As long as you have done a negative test result you've gone to Maui or some other island, and you've been there at least 3 days. Then you can inter-island hop into Kauai and avoid that 10-day mandatory quarantine. The other one is the resort bubble. There are several resorts on the island of Kauai that have agreed to do a quarantine resort bubble. So you can fly into Kauai, and if you stay at one of these resorts on the list, again, contact your travel advisor to discover which resorts are on the list. If you're there for 3 days and you don't leave the resort property at all, then you can take a test negative, and go enjoy the rest of the island, foregoing the rest of the 10-day quarantine. So that will get you into Hawaii. So we've got Las Vegas, we've got Florida, we've got Hawaii. Amazing domestic travel options. What's next on the pad of power? Hey, Zach, what are you daydreaming about? What am I daydreaming about? You know what? I'm daydreaming about the spirit of Aloha. In fact, I'm so excited about it. I have a lei greeting right here in my house. Aloha, everybody. Okay, why am I daydreaming about the spirit of Aloha and talking about Hawaii so much? Well, many of you know that my sons are members of the Toller Rattler Band at Toller High School here in Texas, and they have been invited to a very special opportunity next year. This year now, 2021, December 7th, the 80th commemoration of Pearl Harbor. Now, they will be the only band representing the state of Texas at this 80th commemoration in Oahu at Pearl Harbor. And it's going to be incredible. Of course, the FBI is going to be there. There's going to be background checks. They're going to check the bus for things. I mean, we're going to have heads of states. Probably the President of the United States is going to be there. And our kids are going to be representing the state of Texas. It is incredible. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the spirit of Aloha and what that really means and why Hawaii is such an incredible destination, but such an incredible celebration of Polynesian culture. So let me read just a little bit to you about that. What does Aloha mean? It means kindness, unity, harmony, humility. And actually on one of the Hawaii websites, there's this beautiful paragraph that says, it's a mutual regard and affection and extends warmth in caring with no obligation in return. Aloha is the essence of relationships in which each person is important to every other person for collective existence. To hear what is not said, to see what cannot be seen, and to know the unknowable. Wow. I think we could use the spirit of Aloha in all of our communities, and I don't think you need to be in Hawaii to share it with one another. But if you want to experience it, definitely check out Hawaii for your next vacation. What's next on the pad of power? Oh, it's time for a snout out. That's right, a snout out is when I give a shout out, but this is Travel Grunt, and we're having fun, so we're calling it a snout out for some of the best places to pig out. And what I really want to talk about, since we're in the mood for the spirit of Aloha, is this wonderful little delicacy right here. Just look at that. Oh, look how tasty that looks. That is called malasada. That's right, malasada is actually a Portuguese dish, but you got to remember that the state of Hawaii is a melting pot of Polynesian cultures and other cultures as well. And so in Hawaii, like the pineapple plantations, for instance, was big business. That's actually how Hawaii eventually, in its history, became a U.S. state. It had a lot to do with the Dole plantations. Well, around the late 1800s, I believe it was like 1878, I think, is when Portuguese plantation workers started migrating into what would become the state of Hawaii. At that time, it was its own sovereign kingdom. So, which by the way, if you didn't know that, you got to study your history, go to the island of Oahu and see the only sovereign palace on U.S. soil. Absolutely incredible. But back to malasada, which is, again, Oahu, it's famous. So this is basically a deep fried donut. Sugar dusted, incredible, and there's an art form to making it, of squishing the dough just right and making the hole with your thumb and just dropping it into the oil just right so it doesn't splash and burn you, and it is a delicacy. Matter of fact, Agnes's Bake Shop for about 50 years was famous in Oahu. Well, Agnes's Bake Shop closed, and one of the residents there, Ryan Katsuno, I hope I'm saying his name right, Katsuno, He thought this was kind of a crime against the culture of Hawaii and said, we've got to find a way to keep this Hawaiian delicacy going. So he contacted the owner, studied with them for months the art of making this delicacy, and opened up, let me go ahead and read this out right, the Agnes's Bake Shop food truck. And by the way, if you didn't know in the state of Hawaii that the food trucks are absolutely the best places to find food, then you are missing out. When you go to Hawaii, you don't just stay on the resort. You rent a car, you drive, you explore, and anytime you see a food truck, stop and try it. You will thank me. But I just want to, it's just a big snout out here to Ryan Katsuno for keeping the malasada delicacy on the island of Oahu. I believe it's in Kailino, or did I write that down right, or did I even miss writing that down? Give me just a moment. Kailua. Excuse me. I apologize for that. Kailua is located about a 30-minute drive northeast of Honolulu. So if you're staying on the famous Waikiki Beach, get in your Jeep, drive 30 minutes, go up to Kailua, and get yourself some malasada. Okay, what's next on the pad of power? Oh boy, it's time for the squeal. I'm going to need to go ahead and hydrate before I do this. Thank you for that, because the squeal is sort of when I tattletale on a do-gooder. So I'm going to start off by giving this travel grunt squeal to Gary Murphy, co-owner of Ama Waterways, specializing in river cruises, especially European river cruises. Now, I love the Ama Waterways brand, in my opinion, and actually award-winning through Berlitz and Cruise Critic and whatnot, probably the best river cruise line in Europe. But here's what I love about Gary Murphy and his co-owners, Rudy Schreiner and Kirsten Karst. Make sure I said that correctly. That's right, Kristen Karst. I'm very sorry, Kristen. They are incredible owners, and here's why. Many of you may know that I am a master cruise counselor with the Cruise Line International Association. And I do specialize in European river cruises, and I have a little game show that I do called Who Floats Your Boat? And we talk about what kind of traveler you are, what things are important to you, and which river cruise line really does match you the best. But I will say I do have a slight bias to Ama Waterways because they have the best ship, the Ama Magna. They have the highest rated ships from Berlitz River Cruising book. They have the Cruise Critics Award for Best River Cruise Line. And if you are a foodie like I am and you love good food and wine and great cuisine, Ama is definitely the way. But here's why I'm giving a squeal out to Gary Murphy specifically. Right now, throughout this last year of the pandemic, there's been a lot of changes and updates and things going on with the cruise lines, and all of us cruise counselors, we have to know what's what. And every week it seems like we got to get updated from something new as things change in the cruising industry. Usually we get this information from a business development manager or a sales supervisor or a call center agent or an email blast or something of that nature. But Gary has been going out and actually reaching out directly to travel advisors. And this is the co-owner of the cruise line. It's not like the CEO of Disney's calling me to tell me what's going on at Walt Disney World. I deal with my business development manager. But here is a co-owner and senior vice president of sales for this cruise line reaching out to us travel advisors. I had the privilege of being on a Zoom call just this week with Gary. He was very generous, very encouraging, and giving us all the information right there from, one-on-one. And he even put out a challenge of, hey, check out this Berlitz River Cruising Guide. It compares all of the river cruise lines, not just his, because he was promoting the river cruise industry, and he has a passion for this industry. And he even said, if anybody doesn't have a copy of this book and needs one, just let me know, and I'll personally send you a copy. So I said, challenge accepted. I sent him an email right then. Within the hour, him and his staff contacted me and said, no problem, Zach, thanks for your address. Look for it in the mail. That is incredible. We just don't see that happening these days. So Gary, I want to say a big thank you here from Travel Grunt for really just getting out there and helping everyone through this travel pandemic. So a big squeal to you for Travel Grunt. I want to end today with an incredible quote. Here at Travel Grunt, we do like to keep things positive, and travel quotes are a lot of fun, but they're a great way of just reminding us of the love and the positivity in this world. And this one's wonderful. It says, "We travel not to escape life, but for life not to escape us."